some of you know, we're going to lose our librarian, John. And as I promised at the last town council meeting, I would bake him a going away cake, my famous lemon cake.
Oh.
So it's back there, and there's plates and whatever, so just take the lid off anytime. You can graze the whole meeting if you'd like. Enjoy. And but John, you might want to have, unless you're like, you shouldn't have sugar, which you look fit, so that's what I'm, you get the first piece if you'd like.
I want to share.
Anyway, we're gonna miss you, John.
Yes.
Really, a lot.
Yes.
So, have at it. He's red.
I think that's permanent.
Oh!
All right, Flex it, roll call. Community comments. Anybody have any comments that are not agendized for tonight? Ruth?
A friend of mine called me. I was hoping she'd be here tonight. I asked her to come and make comments in person, but she, I guess, couldn't make it. She lives off Chantada Lane, which is right off of Soledad, right about where La Cabana is. And twice now, she has had to slam on her brakes because big rigs have pulled out of the new trucking lot that's next to La Cabana. And they pull out very slowly, and she's not even at a high rate of speed because she's coming from Chantal, which is just maybe 1/8 of a mile from Santiago. But she's had to slam on her brakes twice, and she even pulled in there and talked to them and said, "I can't do that. You have to, look." But because it's a blind curve, they can't see anybody coming. When the trucks pull out, they just figure I'm bigger than you are, and
You'll stop.
let the carts fall where they may.
I've encountered that myself. And I don't know if those trucks are really heavy loaded and they just can't move, or because they really pull out of their slow.
Very slowly.
Very
yeah.
slowly, so.
So we need to address the traffic situation there because it's very unsafe. And this lady happens to also be a paramedic. She happens to also be a woman that, when a little girl was killed there 20 years ago, 30 years ago, an 8-year-old girl was killed. Her mom made a left-hand turn there, was hit by an oncoming driver that couldn't see.
Left-hand turn to get to Santiago?
Left-hand turn off Soledad to get onto Santiago, and somebody was coming at a high rate of speed from that blind curve from 14th direction. And look, they were broadsided, the little girl was killed, and this lady happened to be the paramedic who was on scene first, and I mean, so it's very sensitive to her. So, and she also lost her own son in a traffic accident with a semi. And so, it's a very emotional issue for her, and maybe that's why she's not here tonight. But
Are they pulling out of that, there's like a dirt alley, because I drove it today, a dirt alley, and there's several different industrial business storage areas. So you're talking down
I'm
there?
not sure if they're pulling out from right alongside La Cabana, which is actually Santiago, or if they're pulling out from this
Other side.
second road that's actually like more Beliso over there.
I've seen them pull out from Santiago, from right next to La Cabana. They come out and they turn and they cross, they go straight over onto Santiago to get to the freeway, I think.
So they're heading north, right?
Yes.
So we need to ask Public Works about the line of sight issue. I sent an email to Andy Narog to talk to him about these issues, and he was out of town, I think, until this week. So and he's the only point of contact I had for that, so he's the right-of-way guy, so he's the right person. So we have reached out to him, and he's out for the last week and a half, I think it said. I called or emailed right after the planning meeting, so so we'll throw that on the pile of things.
We need
Yep.
something.
Possibly if they would come out and take that little side road to Aliso Canyon, make a right turn on Aliso, where they can kind of stay on the shoulder a little ways to get up to speed, it'd probably be a lot safer than trying to just dart right across like
Well,
they
but
did.
that little road comes in kind of as a, like here's Soledad, that road kind of comes in at an angle, so it'd be a really hard right for them to go back.
Well, there's nothing on the corner though. I mean, it's usually where people stop to do their text messages and all that stuff right there on the corner, so it's no problem making the turn.
10 years ago, I know that Dick Morris had done, I thought he had talked to Public Works about putting a stop sign in there. And I don't know, maybe, I don't know if that helped.
Because they're stopped when there's,
Santiago and Soledad should be a four-way stop, it would solve a
Yeah,
lot
but
of issues.
it's all the other cars that would be stopping.
It would solve a lot of issues because you've got people doing 75 miles an hour on that road, passing people on the left that are, people that are coming northbound on Soledad that live off Cashmere Canyon. They're getting ready to slow down to go into their left-hand turn lane,
Yes.
to turn into their neighborhood, and they got people passing them on the left,
Yeah,
thinking that they're just going too slow
Yeah.
because they haven't put their blinker on yet.
yeah.
I mean, it's a very, the thing is, if you put a stop sign there on Soledad, it would, and then had flashing signs, flashing lights saying stop ahead,
Mhm.
it would get people to slow down, and you wouldn't have people doing 70 miles an hour, going around the bend to Michigan and Wisconsin and all that, Middle Rock School. They would just be accelerating from Santiago.
Yeah,
It would break the momentum.
yeah, let's try that again. I recall we were told, I'm trying to remember, do you remember this, Lillian? We were told that stop signs break flow traffic, the purpose of the highways is to keep traffic moving, so we can't do that. But now, as of the last 2 years, a whole nother paradigm has occurred in road planning, and now it's all about traffic calming measures, and how can we slow the cars down and get people out of their cars. So we should take another run at it.
Well, I guarantee you that 80% of the people that are doing 75 miles an hour on
Are not
Soledad
locals.
are commuters that are
Yes.
bypassing the 14 freeway and using Acton
Yes.
as a bypass.
Yep.
Jackie, when you emailed him, did you ask him for a study?
I just asked him to meet with us,
Talk.
right?
Okay.
I mean, it was, the springboard was, he was the Public Works representative at the Primo River subdivision when Commissioner Shell directed them to allow equestrian uses within the road right away, outside of the roadway. So that was the start of the connection with him, but then all these other issues have come up, so. So I didn't ask for anything other than a meeting. Would you want to go to that, or?
Just just forward
Okay.
me what you sent to him,
Okay.
so I can stay in the loop on it, and if I can help in any way.
And he might have gotten back to us today, I've been too busy, I haven't checked the email, so.
if we're not gonna get any speed enforcement on that section of road, then, the stop sign is, it's gonna make them stop.
Or
Hopefully.
even something.
Something, yeah.
Something. Because truly, for those trucks to pull out, regardless of whether they're gonna go northbound or southbound on Soledad, you've got people coming south. It's a complete line curve there, and they've had a long distance with no stops, no disruptions to get their speed up. So, they're coming like from the freeway, heading into Acton. And I just think that, I was pulling out there the other day, and somebody would think I was flying. If I would have not seen him, I would have tried to pull out, he would have been in my trunk.
Yeah.
Easy.
But be prepared to have Public Works tell you that people will not obey the stop signs and it's more dangerous. But if you counter that with maybe the flashing lights ahead as a warning, maybe they would listen.
But the.
Non-compliance is not a reason not to put a stop sign.
Yeah, I'm just like,
You know-
they can
Well,
try
we
that
counter
argument,
that.
but.
Well, and it's like, okay, well, we shouldn't put a law against murdering people because people are still gonna do it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Well,
okay.
it's the same thing as
It
the
is.
speed things, and, they put the tape across, they find out what the common speed is, and if it's higher than the speed limit, they change it to the higher speed, because they're just saying it's okay to break the law.
Well, it's already 55, so they can't make it go any faster.
Not there, but I mean, it's the principle, it's
Right.
the way they look at things.
No, I understand.
But I will say this, if they say something like that, they're going to have to back it up with actual evidence. Because, I thought we got hand waved 10 years ago, but I was not, I was dealing with Panda and everything else, so, at any rate, so.
All right, any other comments? Okay, minutes of the last meeting.
Well, we've got a couple of other meetings too. We had said here we were going to also do the ones from March 6th and March 20th,
I thought we approved those.
Okay.
and these.
Okay.
So, I've got a couple of copies of March 6th and March 20th, but that's it. So
Okay.
if anybody needs to reread them.
I have mine at home. I thought we had approved those. I don't know why.
No, we did not approve those, we approved everything else.
I just
That.
looked at it before I
I know,
All
we just
right.
keep getting
So
so
we,
far behind.
Let's approve these and then we'll do March next
Okay.
week. Is that all right?
Let's approve this April 3rd, right, because everybody's seen it. And then we'll do March at the planning meeting, actually, we'll just agendize that, just get it out of the way.
So, if anybody needs an extra copy, they'll let me know.
So it's March,
This one is April 3rd,
right, the one we need to, the other two we need to do.
is
are
March 6th and March 20th.
20th, okay. Okay. I know there's some corrections, so,
Yeah, there were a couple corrections, what,
I just had a typo on it.
typo, okay.
Item 2, line 4. Next meeting is April.
Oh, yes.
oh, okay. All right. And then,
Yeah. Okay, yeah,
oh,
2, just, okay.
you almost spelled typo there, one,
I
just
did,
one letter.
didn't I? Yeah. Okay, and yes, I always do that. For some reason on that, on the word we, that always does that. And then I didn't write anything on 10 because when I got to my notes, which was the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, it said we had already discussed it, but then I went back and looked at what I wrote for what we discussed, and I went, we just talked about the date of
Yeah,
the meeting. and-
yes, and that was really what,
That was
there was
really all
nothing
it
else. So
was, so-
discuss the meeting for
Yeah.
the community meeting, right?
Yeah, so I could add that
Just
to that
discuss date
section.
of
Okay.
meeting.
Yeah, oh,
Just-
okay,
April
so there's something
21st?
there.
20.
Okay.
No, I'm looking up. I got it in here, actually.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, well, somebody want to move to approve the minutes with the corrections?
I make a motion that we accept the minutes for April 3rd, 2017 with the corrections, typo corrections.
I'll second that. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No? Abstentions? No? Okay.
It was
Motion
April
to close.
18th, the meeting. It was a busy day.
Did you folks get a letter from a gentleman who was in the process of trying to sell his properties in Acton? He had a buyer. The prospective buyer began due diligence and talked to the county and was told by the county that he would never get a permit to build anything because he wouldn't be able to qualify for the access ordinance. Note the access ordinance that has not been passed yet.
Yes, I got one in my personal email, and then I emailed back and forth with him,
Okay.
and then I forwarded it, gave him your contact information, Acton Ombudsman and News's, Jude Drake's, and I thought I also forwarded it to the Acton Town Council website, but I'm saying, okay, then that was my mistake, but he did contact me,
Okay.
and so I didn't want to shift it over to Town Council until we had talked about it, so that was,
I hope the county is doing their rule by fiat again. Is there anything that we can do about it?
well, I
They will
did
be
explain to
dealing-
him that it's not only not been approved, but it's been tabled until potentially November, although Mitch keeps saying it might not come back at all. So he prepared the draft, I asked him to write the letter. He sent me an email, and I said, you guys, you need to write it down, and you need to do this, because a lot of people aren't giving particulars. And I told him, as far as I knew, only one other person had pointed to a specific address and said, this property is landlocked, it was valueless, because of what you've done on top of the access ordinance, the easements that they got and were supposed to get and didn't get, the county, when they approved other subdivisions or CFCs. So, you know, if you can't point to a specific address, it's all hand waving as far as the county's concerned. They'll just say, well, nobody said anything about it, anybody in particular being affected by this specifically. So that's why I asked him, well, I mean, they can, it's like, well, you're worried about it, but show me the harm, right? So I asked him to write the letter, which he did. I went over it with him just briefly. He sent it to Mitch Glazer, and I think he might have sent it to you too. I think I gave him either 5th District's or yours. Okay, and so they were aware. So I told him yours is the sort of stories that we need with specific harm demonstrated based on the record of, and it's a taking.
Yeah,
So
I'm just.
I tried to steer him
how to
also
handle
towards, because you saw the issue with the hauled water. He thought he was waiting for the hauled water to happen. I tried to steer him your way. I sent a long email about, what the PLF is doing, so.
He didn't write me about that. He wrote about this loss of his deal to sell his land
Yeah.
because of what the county told his buyer, potential buyer, in pursuit of due diligence. So, I don't know, it just, I don't understand the thinking at county and why any clerk behind a desk thinks he has the right to say that to people and throw their lives into turmoil. I just, well, okay, then I think what I'll do is just print his letter.
That's probably a good idea.
Okay, we can do that next week.
I mean, if he sent it to you for that purpose, I gave him all the press contacts I had, so.
Okay.
Great.
And the buyer was at regional planning to get this information, or was he specific
I
about?
think it's building and safety.
Building and
I have to
safety.
reread
Okay,
It was just, I think he contacted regional planning. I think it was a phone call to LA. I don't know that he talked to the,
or that he went out to Lancaster?
correct.
no county employee should have told him that.
Mhm.
No,
No,
it's
nobody
terrible.
should know, but it helped to know where it happened.
Exactly, I'd like to know.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, I can, no, I got it. Well, you already have his email, his letter, I mean, so.
Okay,
And you're gonna print that letter?
I think so. I don't know how to get the county's attention otherwise unless I get it out there and say, hey, what are you doing? How do you justify this?
I think it's really important that we pin it down to where
Where
this.
it happened from first.
Yeah.
Can,
Right.
let me call Mitch tomorrow, can I, and see?
Yeah, he's familiar with the letter, because he
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah. I mean, you do what you wanna do, but I'm
No,
just
that-
gonna
that's-
say, I'm happy to do that too, to see if we can find out,
Well, why don't we wait,
if
you
you
do
talk
that,
to him.
and you're gonna publish it. I mean, there's nothing we can actually do about it,
Yeah.
right? Other than obviously we agree with it, and I'll forward it to the
Right.
town council.
Get the details of how
Um,
this took place.
Okay, well, it's a long letter, so I'll read it.
Okay.
Okay, I just wanted
But I'm
to
with the who,
cross-check it with you guys,
Mhm.
yeah.
see if there was anything beside the letter. Obviously it was.
There was some back and forth before, so.
Thank you.
Okay, treasurer's report, Pam.
Exactly the same as the last couple of months. It's 1,374.24. No expenses, no income.
And is Deputy Short here? No. Okay. And John, library report.
Hello. So this is actually going to be my last agency report. And truth be told, I'm not going to be doing a whole lot. I'm just going to introduce the new guy who is standing right next to me.
Because you have to go to King.
I know, that's my job tonight, which is fantastic, and thank you so much, that's awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Jim Wall. He is the new library manager here at Acton Town Council Library. He has been with the county a little over 19 years.
Almost 19.
He's very good at his job. He is a wonderful librarian. He's been in Lancaster for the last 4.5 years, at the Valencia Library, which used to be a county library many years ago. He was there for about 3. Those 2 libraries are notable because they are our 2 busiest libraries in the county system. When I told people I was leaving, basically people said, John, can you bring in somebody who is familiar with that rural lifestyle, who can really know what we're all about? And that's this guy, that's Jim. He lives kind of close, he's over in Green Valley. If you don't believe me, ask him how many chickens does he have. And I'm not gonna tell you anything about what's going on in the library, and I'm going to let him do that. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jim Wall.
Thank you.
So to preempt that question about how many chickens, I do have 10, in case anybody wants. So very happy to be here. Hope to be here for a while, doing all kinds of things at the library. Please, before we leave, stop by, introduce yourself. I will do my best to remember everybody's names, but I make no promises. Things going on at the library. This coming weekend, May 6th and 7th, Friends of the Library are having one of their book sales, so come on by. Let's help support them. Let's see here, May 25th, we have our Teen Advisory Board, so they can help gear programming towards the library. If you know any teens in the area, send them this way. Trying something, adult coloring program too, at the end of the month, May 27th. You can come on, we'll have some table setups, coloring, colored pencils and such. Going for that. Also for the kids, we have it happening twice, Tuesdays, the 16th and the 23rd. We've got this great puzzle puppet show coming called Swazzle. They'll be doing a couple puppet presentations. All good fun. Kids love them. We've got flyers for all of this stuff back on the table if anyone's interested. Other than that, does anyone have any questions? No. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you. Looking forward to being here.
We change librarians probably faster than council members.
But not anymore. Right? Stay.
Right, he said he's gonna try
Yep.
to stay for a while.
I tried.
John, thank you for
Yes.
the time you put in here. It's, you've done a great job.
Yes.
And I always, I'm repeating myself, but this is the one place you go in the county system and you get treated like royalty, the library. So,
Thank you very much for the kind words. It really has been a pleasure to be here. This is my first library manager position, and I can honestly say I will never forget it. It's a very special place. And thank you again for the cake.
Well, somebody needs to start eating it. Take the lid off.
I will do that.
Okay, thanks. I am not taking that home.
We will miss you, though.
Yes.
You can stop by Stevens Ranch Library anytime.
Okay.
Wait, after you've already had your little one though, right?
Yes.
He's expecting his first, so he's got some leave he's taking first.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
announcements and correspondences.
Okay.
Jackie, you wanna,
Um, I know, I had it in a stack and I couldn't find it before I left here, so I'm just trying to read.
Okay,
Yeah.
we had a couple emails come in that Kelly informed me about. One was from Vasquez High School asking about emergency planning, so I'll respond to that and point them to the resiliency committee. And the other was from a property owner on Soledad Pass Road having some issues with a neighbor and possibly business being run at the neighbor's house. So I'll just they left the phone number, so I'm just gonna give them a call and see if I can find out a little bit. They've talked to the county already, and the county said that the business owner should have came to us, which is a little strange, because we don't approve or disapprove anybody's home businesses. So there's probably more to the story that's in the email and the attached documents, so we'll find out a little bit more about that later. Anybody else?
Just
Well, you ready?
the other one that I had was what Lillian already mentioned, was the gentleman talking about
Okay.
not being able to.
That's
I
a
had it printed out at
reoccurring
home.
kind of issue we have with planning, is just counter people telling people things, out of turn with no policy, we made it to counter. And I don't know what the purpose of that was, to warn somebody that coming down the road could be problematic, or, I don't know.
And maybe that's how they said it and he interpreted it that way, we don't know, if we don't have it in writing that somebody issued him a notice of that, he could have interpreted it that way. I'm not excusing it, I know what you're saying, I'm hearing you. It would be helpful to know what counter it happened at, yeah.
Well, you have his contact information. Do you
I
want to
will,
contact?
Yeah.
If not, just let me know and I
Comments
will
too, Yeah.
re-forward it, or,
Yeah, because that's kind of scary stuff, but we get a lot of that. When people ask, can I put a barn here, can I put an output building here, can I get a meter? You know, there's a lot of policy being made right there, and a lot of misinformation, and it deters a lot of people, so, and it frustrates a lot of people.
yeah, because a lot of things that we would have thought would be perfectly fine turn out to be not because of policy, not because
Right.
it's prohibited in the
Because
ordinance.
somebody just
And then
says-
stuff that we know is prohibited in
Right.
the ordinance is just all over the place, so.
Just to throw another wrinkle into it, given that it was a real estate transaction, it might have been a way for that buyer to step out of the transaction, changed his mind. We see those
Maybe.
kinds of
Sure,
things.
must
I
have-
don't,
yeah, sure.
I'm interpreting or reading between the lines here a little bit, but
Right.
it's also important for us to know what was really said to them. I've had so many people not understand what they heard at the county too. So I'm very curious to know, where was he, what information did he get?
Well, I'll forward you the, well,
Yeah, we'll read it.
I think Acton Agua Dulce News said they were gonna post it too. I don't remember, there was an email that came back from.
Well, we'll read it
Yep.
and then hopefully get some answers.
Well, I mean, it really shows you the potential damage that this access ordinance is gonna do to people.
Yep.
Sure, well, I think that's why they pulled it back, you know, they realized there were issues, and that's why they're looking at it.
Well,
Why
you know,
didn't they see the issues to begin with? They're
I
very
know.
plain to everybody but the county.
I know.
So you have to wonder what the motivation is.
I think if, when it does come back, if you do talk to Mitch, if it has sort of a preface of why this is so important and why it has to be done, I just think that's really important, because you shouldn't make up ordinances that destroy people's lives without a really sound
Right.
reason.
Yeah.
There was another email, but we'll get into that later. Mitch emailed me all of the, we were supposed to be getting reports. I signed us up for Acton, what's it called, the new access program for, you can look and see permits that are going on. And, oh, really? Because I haven't seen any.
Really?
Well, it's okay, but Mitch went ahead and forwarded to the reports that I hadn't seen yet, so maybe I'm looking in the wrong place, but, anyway, so I'll talk about those later. So that was another correspondence we got.
We've gotten emails that say we were registered in the system. That's what I've seen.
Okay, yeah, okay, there's supposed to actually have to be reports that look like this. Weekly reports of things that are submitted in the CSD
Okay,
bound.
maybe we did, okay.
Yeah, see, I'm getting stuff with the PDF, but there's nothing there listed. It looks like this, but there's nothing on it.
Oh, see, there's nothing
Oh,
happening in the
no,
county.
there's usually something on it. And then we did have a communication from Susie Tay, just a phone call. They are, I don't know if cleanup is the right word, but they're going through and making adjustments to the Santa Clarita Valley plan, because there's, you probably know about this, I think they're scheduled to be talked about at the next Agua Dulce Town Council meeting. The plan areas don't necessarily line up with the CSD boundaries, and so they're going to fix it. So I asked her to send me the maps if she could by today. I suspect she did, but I didn't check email after 9 AM this morning. I was running around too much. So, and I don't think there's nothing really that's changing in the Antelope Valley plan, is my understanding, but anyway.
We got for another border war.
I told Susie, I'm like, okay, she wants to come here and talk about it, and I suggested maybe she could come to the planning meeting, although we don't normally introduce new things at the planning meeting, but I think we wants to go to the board soon, or the planning commission soon, so, and we've already front-loaded the June meeting with the Edison people, so maybe she'll come to the early June meeting, I don't know, I have to touch base with her, I didn't even see what her email said, and I'm sure she sent it, because she usually, when she says she'll send something by a certain time, she usually does. Oh,
I
really?
didn't see one from today.
Oh, okay, well, maybe it came in late, I don't know. I'll follow up with her tomorrow, but anyway, so, but apparently it will be discussed at the Agua Dulce meeting within the next couple of weeks, so maybe a lot of the steam will be vented at that point, I don't know.
So it's discrepancy between the CSD boundary and the general plan boundary?
No,
is
I
that
think
right?
I think the CSD boundary's not changing, that's what I understand. But the general plan, is,
It's One Valley, One Vision, it's gonna be adjusted, because people have been complaining that even where I live, I've been told, I don't know if it's true or not, I can't find out a true answer, that I'm still in the Antelope Valley
oh,
plan.
absolutely you are, yep.
But that can't be right, because I am not in the CSD for Acton.
Right.
I'm in the CSD for Agua Dulce, and then.
That's only a couple of years.
It's been
till
going
just-
on for a long time.
Well, but you were, I thought you had a cutout, so you weren't in either for a long, long time.
True, but then
Okay.
when we did the CSD for Agua Dulce,
Yeah.
we put my area, my valley, into the CSD where it belongs. And then I'm not the only one on the south side, Rosie Heffley is trying to get her boundaries, because they told her the same thing, that, she's part of Agua Dulce, but she's in the Acton, One Valley, not One Valley, the Antelope Valley plan.
Well,
So
my
that can't
understanding
be
was that
right
the
either.
CSD boundaries are the same as they were when the CSD was adopted in 1996. That's what I understood from Susie. So if that's incorrect, then I guess we'll find out. Sounds like that might not be correct.
Well, it certainly wasn't correct for me, because,
Well, you were never in the Acton CSD, so that shouldn't even change. But you might have been in the Antelope Valley.
I was never in the Acton CSD.
Correct.
Because I went to the committee meeting back in the 90s.
Right.
And said, this is Agua Dulce on this side of the drainage. Everything on the other side that goes to Acton
Right.
is Acton. And so that's why I've always been in no man's land, because I wasn't in Acton and I wasn't in Agua Dulce.
But you were always in the Antelope Valley plan. But now you'll be in the One Valley, One
Well,
Vision plan.
We'll see what they actually do. And then Rosie's problem too.
Well, I'm sorry I don't have the maps. I just,
That's okay.
I didn't.
I'll wait.
Ruth?
The regional planning interactive map online has a overlay that shows which area.
Yeah, but they're gonna be changing that. That's what,
Oh, they're redrawing the lines?
well, they're making adjustments to fix certain things that were not done exactly properly.
Well, everybody in Agua Dulce was told by the county that when the new CSD was accepted, that everything in every parcel in Agua Dulce would be in One Valley, One Vision. And that's what they didn't follow through on. That's why there's still all these little problems.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know where all these people live, because I dealt with all the other issues, not the border issue. But from Susie, she indicated that the CSD boundaries will not change. And they didn't change in 2015, so we'll see. We'll just see that's being stirred on, I don't know.
There's always something.
In a sentence with a preposition too. I'm tired.
It's all right. Okay, county enforcement actions of unpermitted structures or questionably permitted structures.
Yeah, I had asked, we had talked about it at the planning meeting, and I had hoped Deputy Short would be here to talk about it, because he's the one who mentioned the
Yeah.
7 or 8 people who own barns up Crown Valley that are looking at violations now. And they bought the property with the barn on it, sometimes multiple owners back. And I was hoping to hear from some of them, but I don't know, are any of you folks caught up in the barn? I know the gal you've been working with.
Yeah, I had.
Is anyone here?
storage container.
No, yeah, there's 2 issues, so is anyone here with the barn problem? Shoot. Okay.
I've had a lot of communication with that gal.
Well, she needs to be in the list too, because what I wanted to do, and I was kind of hoping to get people from the county here, but maybe we didn't give them enough time, or maybe next meeting or something, I don't know. Maybe a planning meeting, we could talk about it. Because talking about the barns first, or large structures, not containers, but, structures with framing and what have you. The county because these structures don't appear to have a record of a building permit, and they might have been built 30 years ago or 20 years ago, My understanding is these people are being issued like either notices of violation or notices to comply or something. They're being told they have to get a building permit and a site plan and everything. And the one lady that we've heard about mostly is, she can't, how do I get a building permit? I didn't build this, And she's paying property taxes on it, so somehow there had to have been some connection, because usually that doesn't happen unless it goes through the process. And Public Works tells the assessor's office about the.
That was confirmed, that she's paying property tax on it?
She's been paying property taxes since the day she lived in on those structures.
On
They
those
were
structures.
assessed. Structures were built in '92,
Okay.
and she bought the property in 2000. And what it was they had built I think what happened was the people who were building the barn originally in '92, they poured their foundation 5 feet from their fence line, not realizing that their fence line wasn't on their actual property line. That their property line was actually 5 feet further over, or maybe even more than that. In other words, their fence line was actually resting on the neighbor's parcel.
But the barn is not on the neighbor's property.
Well, the barn was too close to the property line because the property line wasn't true, according to anyway.
And there's a 5-foot limit.
Yeah, so the pad was poured, and I guess the people that were building the barn said, well, we're not redoing it, and they threw their hands up in the air. So the county was made aware that the barns were being constructed, but they were never permitted because of the property line issue. Now, this lady comes along in the year 2000 and buys the property, and I guess she was told the barns weren't permitted, but they're in your property taxes, so everything was cool.
Which makes no sense.
Until a neighbor, she had a squabble with the neighbor, and of course the neighbor calls the county and says these barns are unpermitted. She ended up actually buying a total of a half an acre that runs up the side of her 5-acre parcel, so that she now owns that little strip of property where her fence line had been put.
Okay.
But she tried to get the barns permitted, just 2 empty barns.
Well,
Couldn't get them permitted because of the engineering fees, couldn't find anybody to do it.
yeah, well, here's this is what crazy idea I want to throw out there. If we can understand why the county wants a building permit on these things, I think that's the key. Because if it's just, the only thing I can think of is that there's some liability concern. The county might be concerned that they're going to get sued because the barn falls down on somebody and the county never permitted it, never ordered them to take it out, or, I don't know. The only thing I can think of why the county would be hard over on this is if it's some sort of liability issue. So if that's the case, then there should at least, in my opinion, be an opportunity for the property owner to waive liability for the county. If you look at the access ordinance, there's language exactly that allows that sort of thing, where you indemnify the county, hold them harmless about any action that's caused by this structure, or by not having access. And in this case, it would be a structure that's not permitted. And so you might still have to do the site plan, what have you, I don't know. But if they can just get rid of the requirement for a building permit and do a waiver in lieu of that, then I don't see why the property owner wouldn't be eligible for what's called a clean hands waiver, because they clearly are, their hands are clean in this. And then it's made a legal non-conforming or legal unpermitted, it's legalized in some fashion. So
Very, very well could be that that's the county's issue, because they were putting these, huge numbers out for her to have, this kind of a snow load tolerance and this kind of 100-mile-an-hour winds or something crazy. And, her barn is built to hold the snow load they were talking about, although I can't imagine it's having that kind of snow in Acton. But, you never know what could happen, but, the wind, the regulation they wanted for the wind levels. It seemed like it could have been a liability issue, but it became so difficult for her. She couldn't find an engineer that.
well, this would get
Everybody
rid of
was
all of
getting
that.
huge estimates of what it was gonna cost, because nobody wanted to do it.
Yeah, when this would eliminate that.
MD wouldn't even talk to her.
MD architects.
Barnes.
Oh, okay.
Wouldn't even talk to her.
Um,
And the county said, well, we'll help you, we'll get involved here, and then the MD didn't want to deal with the county. She got so frustrated, she was hospitalized for an ulcer over it, it's been going on for a while, so she finally just said, I'll accept the lien. So that's all she could do, because it was was gonna cost her so much money to bring them up to legal with the county. And the other option was to tear them down, and she has horses. She needs them.
Well, I think that's why I'm suggesting this course of action, to at least consider with the county, with the staff. I don't know why. If the issue is liability, this should make it go away. And if the property owner is not inclined to sign, to, indemnify the county, well then, the process will go forward, whatever the county feels it needs to do to protect itself from whatever. But I talked to Deputy Short, and he said, I asked him, I said, if you had this process, if you, not him, but the people who he knows, apparently a lot of law enforcement officers are caught up in this net in Brown Valley, would they follow that course of action that was available to them? And he said yes. So it seems like a viable alternative, unless there's some other issue the county's concerned about that we just, we're not seeing.
Well, what's
It's
the
opaque to us.
process
Did you talk to him about this specific property issue, this woman's, Deputy Short's, this specific
No,
case? Just
no.
all of the ones?
No,
that-
just in the whole,
Just in general?
just the issue in general, unpermitted buildings that you bought with your land. You may or may not have known they were unpermitted, but now they're getting tagged right left and center by the county. And my understanding is that it's one neighbor talking to another neighbor, like, we just need to get along, everybody,
Yeah.
and stop it. But anyway.
Yeah, and she is law enforcement retired.
Yeah, she might be one of them that he's talking about that. So, anyway, how do you think we would,
It sounds bizarre to me, it doesn't make sense. That there's, that she's paying, that there's a tax on it and it hasn't been.
yeah,
Does
that
it-
makes no sense to
No,
me.
it just, that in itself makes no sense to me. Just the little I know,
Yeah.
and a couple of situations like this that I've looked into, but I mean, I'm happy to.
And if she's acquired ownership on that property, she
Yes.
can do that legally and just do a lot line adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, you never buy a part of somebody's property, because that's an illegal
Yeah.
subdivision. But if you do a lot line adjustment and you now own this property, that's perfectly
She paid
legal.
like $70,000 for this little skinny strip that runs.
So
behind
hopefully,
my property.
well, my recommendation to her is to pursue a lot line adjustment, because it's not supposed to be that expensive. And then it's well within the,
And that's not the issue though.
Oh.
Getting it permitted is the fact she can't get anybody to draw the plans.
Yeah.
NMD doesn't, they should have plans on record that they can
they
just
won't,
furnish
yeah,
them.
share.
And they won't, nobody will talk to
Did they
them.
do it originally?
MD.
MD
yeah,
did?
MD Barnes.
And another similar situation with someone out in another area that, the company that had done the work was defunct. So they were having a really hard time.
Well, this would,
Yeah.
but this would solve, it seems to me this would
Yeah.
solve everything. If the county's willing to be indemnified,
Yeah.
then let's just stop beating on people,
I don't understand why a new homeowner that had nothing to do with building the barns would have to be penalized.
Yeah.
It should be the person who built the structures and didn't get them permitted that should have to pay a fine, and then you move forward. And from
Yeah,
that point
but these
on,
things run with the land, so it's like, yeah, I don't disagree with you, but it's,
Right.
And it was disclosed to her that they were unpermitted when she bought in
She
2000.
she didn't remember, but she dug up all her paperwork and because I was telling her that you had questioned, well, the county knew about them somehow because you've been paying taxes on them. So somehow they were introduced to the county either during the construction process or something. And so, yeah, I mean, she had bought the piece of property, but it didn't solve the fact that she couldn't get the plans drawn. It was gonna cost her thousands to come up with plans and, pay the fines and
all the
the other
interior
option was
counts.
to mow them down and pay a fine, and she said, I have to have my barns.
Well, let's just hope that, this sounds reasonable, doesn't it? I mean, this,
Sounds crazy to me, but.
no, I mean,
I know what
it's
you
reasonable.
mean.
No, I mean, reasonable
Your
idea to
assumption.
get,
Yes.
address it.
Yeah,
At least give
absolutely.
people a
No,
pathway
absolutely.
that's, like,
How
you
would
just
you go
report
about
it
Doesn't
up.
make any sense.
How would you go about doing that if that's the issue?
Well, we have to
the
talk
county
to
has?
Public Works and Regional Planning.
So,
So, I don't know, and that's.
And bring in the assessor's office, if there's a tax there, then that's.
Well, yeah, but I mean, in general,
Yeah.
her issue with the assessors, that's,
Right.
just the whole issue in general with the building permit. So I think what we need to do is try to talk to Public Works. That would not be Andy Narog, that would be somebody building and safety, the permit people. And, people at Regional Planning who do the site plan review, not necessarily Christine, but probably somebody higher up for her. So I don't know what else, how
Maybe
else.
a copy of the violation, or they wrote a citation, or a
She
violation?
received like a written thing, and, I mean, this has been going on for,
Right, well,
I kinda came in on the tail end of it, so.
Oh, okay.
well, now that Deputy Short's here, maybe he could give us some more names of people that we could get addresses for. Because we have an idea to deal with all of this barn stuff that we were talking about. Maybe asking the county to have them sign an indemnification, so then they are eligible for a clean hands waiver, which is not too expensive, my understanding. And then everything's legal and clean and good. So, but we need to set that up, so. I haven't had a lot of good track record with county people trying to set meetings up with me, so.
So this is gonna be a per case basis?
No, I think we need to
Or
have-
we need a policy change?
Yeah, well,
How do we,
I'm not even sure there's a policy. I think we need to have a policy that says, if you're an innocent buyer, well, that's what I would fight for anyway.
Right.
It seems to me that that's reasonable. So,
If there's a lot of properties in the area that this has happened to, is that right, Deputy Short?
I'm sorry,
I'm sorry.
how many, you said there was a whole bunch of people up Crown
they
Valley?
told me there was like 20.
Oh my
Whoa.
They had, or 20 houses identified that had unpermitted barns/structures, all in the dirt area from Bandel north.
Okay, and these are not, because we're talking about the containers separate.
No,
This
these
is-
are barns and
Okay,
those kind of structures.
so, do you think you can help us put together a meeting with them, or do
Yeah,
we need to make a
we'll-
motion to
we'll figure out what
implement
we
this
need to
course of
do.
action, or
Yeah.
do we need to do that? Make them.
but, yeah.
All right, well, then I'd like to make a motion that we try to work with Public Works and Regional Planning to find a way to make these structures become legitimate through an indemnification process and clean hands waiver.
Add Supervisor Barger's office to that list of people.
Yeah, no, this
Yes,
is just a motion for
yes.
us to actually pursue this course of
Right.
action, so,
With Public Works.
with Public Works and Regional Planning, and Supervisor Barger's office, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're gonna need your help putting it together. My track record is terrible.
That's right.
I'll second that motion.
Just a second, I didn't get the. To work with Public Works and Regional Planning to make these structures
Legitimate.
legal.
Legitimate. I don't know if legal's the right word, so legitimate,
Supervisor Barber's office.
through indemnification and a clean hands waiver. So it'll be regional planning, Public Works, and Supervisor
Supervisor
Barger's
Barger.
office. And then there's somebody.
I think we'll have to have a meeting with
Julie has a
the
proposal.
different departments together first to address it, and, I'll get with you later.
Somebody had a comment on that.
I just had a question, is this barn thing, is, now that he's speaking, I mean, I know this one with the lady and the neighbor who was, they had a squabble, but is this a county task force going around and looking for possibilities of things, just driving around, or is this a result of an actual citizen, the result of a citizen, complaint?
I suspect it's both, but I don't know, Deputy Short has more info.
My understanding from one of the residents that got cited was somebody complained about somebody building some kind of a shop-type structure without a permit. So zoning shows up and goes, hey, you need permits, you need grading, da-da-da-da-da. He goes, well, what about that guy whose barn's not permitted, and that guy, and that guy, and that guy, and that guy? And now they started looking through the area, now that, he's there, it's like, look at all these barns. So what they do is they go pull the property profile and see what's been approved. And if it's not, then they go visit them. But I know that the one of the parties that I talked to at length was saying that, they were basically, you have to bring it up to standard, you're gonna have to pay the fees, you're gonna have to do this, you're gonna have to do that, because, it's like, well, the barn was here when I bought the property.
Well, see, that's where the clean hands part comes in. If you're the person who put the illegal structure up, you obviously would probably not get a clean hands waiver unless you could show you didn't know it needed a permit or something. I don't know, I have no idea. But at least for the folks who were caught up in this,
Right.
you know, a lot of pig in a poke.
Especially this woman that's been there for 17 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
agree.
painful, to even think that you've gotta be worried about this.
She has 2 barns, so it's called double the expense to get somebody to draw plans for the 2 different barns. I don't think they're identical, one's small.
Well, and empty barns those are standard plans.
Exactly, and MD should have been able to furnish her plans.
That's right.
Yeah,
She and
that's
I
right.
talked about it, she said she would call them and they would, we don't have those plans archived. I'm like,
Of
hello,
course they
built
do.
those barns.
Yeah, that's
They were so unhelpful, so unhelpful. They didn't want anything to do with working with the county, MD.
Well, hopefully we'll be able
Don't
to
want anything to do with the county.
sidestep all of that. You know, hopefully we'll get it. I think this is a reasonable solution.
I think you're right, that, I mean, the whole, your thing you came up with is great. And this lady's already, because she was making herself sick over it, she's already accepted the lien on her property because she couldn't afford to do the other options. Couldn't be without the barns, couldn't pay what it was gonna cost her. So she accepted the lien, and being in law enforcement, it just went against her grain because she felt like that was admitting she'd done something wrong.
Right.
You know, it was just really upsetting her physically and emotionally, so.
Well, and it's also going to affect her for resale purposes if
Yes.
she would decide to sell in the next couple of years. She's got a lien on her property that would have to be satisfied before it could ever close
Yeah.
escrow.
I'm gonna have some more leave.
Well, she'll be thrilled to know.
Do you want me to read the motion?
Yes, I would like to get the motion again.
Okay. Jackie made a motion to work with Public Works, Regional Planning, and Katherine Barger's office to make these structures legitimate through indemnification and clean hands waiver. Do we just wanna call it these structures, or do we wanna,
That's
you
fine.
read this, so you're okay
Yeah,
with that?
we're good.
I think Pam seconded it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And
Abstentions? Okay, so
I,
motion carries.
somebody about 8 years ago, I'm sorry, nobody complained about my property, but county started some enforcement action because I had a camper in the backyard. They thought it was like it was just in the back 40, it wasn't in my driveway. And so I had to deal with that. So I think it isn't just call-ins. I think they just do it if they want to, you know?
Well,
I don't know.
I know other municipalities like Glendale, they actually have computer software that looks at Google Earth and goes back and they look for the differences, and when things pop up, you get tagged.
They do have that.
They do have that. I don't know if LA County does that or not.
They do.
Oh, yeah,
They have
that's,
a flyover and they have an overlay and they look and see what's new and what isn't.
Yeah.
and I was told the reason they have that is because they want to see if you removed any junipers. That's what the biologist told me. They're gonna go back over all the years to see how many junipers you pulled and all this other stuff, so.
So we're supposed to leave the ones that are dead?
I'm just reporting what they told me.
I'm so glad they have time to look for junipers. Jeepers.
So then the other issue on the enforcement is the containers. So I dug deep into the zoning ordinance and the requirements for yards and what you can put in yards and what you can't put in yards. And the difficulty is this, the storage containers are not buildings, they're not even structures under the code.
Correct.
So, huh? Well,
It's supposed
who
to be
knows?
more, yeah.
I don't know why that's been determined, but that's what the determination is. So they're considered equipment, and you're not supposed to put equipment in your yard. Putting equipment is not a legal use, accessory use on an A1 property, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So, so I started thinking, well, what about these storage, these little, 10 by 10 storage sheds you buy at Costco? They don't need permits either, but they're in the yard, and they're not on foundation, they're not, yeah, and I'm like, well, if a storage container's not allowed,
Mine's
then,
not on a foundation, it's
No,
on, yeah.
no, what I'm trying to say is if we carry their conclusion and look at it, see what it really means, it captures we've got a little, 8x8 garden sheds, it's 5 feet from the property line, but it's out, in front of our driveway. It captures a lot of things, so we need to understand, I think this is a whole different issue. And
I thought there was something in there that allowed a certain number of containers.
only in
Was
the
that for
Acton, only in the Agua Dulce CSD.
No, no, no.
So, but there's a policy that was handed out at the last meeting, and that was in the stack of things I was supposed to bring tonight.
Got it.
Okay, and it says, they have this policy that says every place can have one container on it, right? If they paid a miscellaneous permit fee.
Is that the letter?
Yes, that you gave us.
Okay, yeah,
So-
that's an inter-office letter, that's not even supposed to be to the public, it's an interpretive memo.
Well, it's a policy, I thought.
Just,
Can I see this for a second?
And it just came out in 2006, so all of us before
Okay, there's another page
2006
to this.
that have these, I have 2.5 acres, I have three levels, three different, three pads. And I have one on one pad, you can't see it all, and one on a garage pad. Been there for 25 years. They came up again to my house last week. She saw them. It was ridiculous. I was
In their
hysterical.
SWAT outfits and stuff?
Yes, and threatening me, telling me if I even think about turning in a site plan for one container, that they'll put it at the bottom of a pile and it'll never get approved. And then they told me that,
Really?
why doesn't my husband need retired? Why doesn't my husband sell everything he owns and get rid of the ocean container? And I'm gonna make it hard on you, and proceeded to, they said they're from the district attorney's office, and I don't know why they have to come up there. The guy was the regional planning and building safety, that guy Daniel Geringer.
He's
I thought
regional
he was gonna
planning.
have a straight, once I started to challenge him, because I'm gonna fight this all the way to the end, no matter what. And he, it's turned into a crazy show.
Well, and that's why I think we need to, because I think that's going to start exploding soon too.
It is,
Because I
because
see
they're
lots of
all over.
containers on a lot of properties.
Of course
And
they're,
so,
they're everywhere.
I just want to tell you one thing, they didn't originally come to my property for a ocean container. They came up for some other reason, unbeknownst to me, as they picked through my whole entire property, and I did some stuff that they told me to do. I got rid of a travel trailer, they said, get rid of it, I got rid of it. I'm not getting rid of my storage container. What? I live way at the top of a hill, where, if you want to steal something, just drive to the top of the hill, go on my garage carport. We don't have anything that's, I live on a one-way street.
They also stated that in Acton, we cannot have motorhomes unless they are in a permitted garage. We cannot have non-op vehicles on a property unless they're
Yeah.
permitted, they have to be in a permitted garage.
Yeah.
If it does not have a non-op, and so we have non-op, they go.
A non-op?
"Well, need your
Oh.
non-op. And it says you must comply with local, anything laws.
Okay, well,
They can take them.
I believe there are county ordinances on non-operational vehicle storage on your property. And there's some limit that's allowed and the rest have to be, which has nothing to do with Acton and the CSD, that's just a county thing. But I don't believe there's anything in the Acton CSD that says all vehicles must be in a garage.
In a permitted garage.
So I think it's a different meeting, probably, maybe even with different people, but I think there were 2 pages to this, I don't know. If we need to, there's only one. Oh, maybe it's here, it fell off of me, sorry. Anyway, so we need to, I think that regional planning's policy is the problem policy, because Public Works has already said you don't need it's not a structure, it's not a building, you just need to get a miscellaneous permit, which I don't know how expensive they are. Have you pulled it yet?
Just to submit the permit, just to turn in it's $1,001.
No, that's your site plan.
Well, that's what they want, is a site plan.
Well, no, I'm talking about, Public Works says you have to get a miscellaneous permit from Building and Safety. And my understanding is that's not very expensive, but
Yeah, you have to get the application, which is $1,001.
that's a site plan. Well, okay.
There's a building fee and then there's an inspection fee. So, at this point, I know they didn't come to my property for that specific reason. I know that firsthand. So, now that they can't, whatever they wanted to find at my house, they're not finding. They haven't. My husband's invited me in for lunch. And this was ridiculous. But I'm feeling threatened. I'm feeling, even when they left last time, I was hysterical. I was hysterical. Next time they come up and start the same stuff, she saw everything that went on over there.
This is all a result from a cyclone neighbor. That's where this all started, because I thought only our house was the object of his affection. He calls everybody and their brother and just makes up all these false allegations, and
Now it's me, now it's
now
my neighbor.
she's the target.
Yeah, now the
It's a
neighbors.
cycle. It's because of one neighbor.
So when does it become selective prosecution? I mean, there's
Yeah.
hundreds of containers out there.
Right.
Yes,
No, I agree.
Sounds great.
Well, that's why I think it might be useful. I think we need to sit down and deconstruct this policy, which was developed in the middle of the night on a Saturday night and I'd only heard about it, I'd never actually seen it before. Because I see the way this is written, it causes problems for everything on your property
Yeah.
that doesn't have or require a building permit.
Right.
So over
Including-
100 square feet.
No, even the stuff that's under, even like a 5x5 storage, Rubbermaid storage shed, that is a thing. No, well, they don't require a building permit,
Yeah,
but
they won't
according
give
to
you-
this,
Yeah, they won't give you one for under 108.
that's a building permit.
Right.
But this is just, and you don't need a building permit for your container. So they're in the same category in my mind, in terms of, you know what I mean? So, this would be a different meeting with Public Works permit. Or maybe it's the same, I don't know, maybe.
I think we need to ask them, you know, these are the questions, these are the issues.
Okay.
Can we do this in one meeting? Do we need separate meetings? Do we need different people from the different departments? I think we just have to be point blank and bullet it.
Okay.
Well, I think this is an issue that this community's got to come together on and decide what they want in the way of containers and get it in the community standards. So, because that would be the place to.
Yeah, but that might take 10 years.
It might take 10 years, but I
Yeah.
think without it being there, it's always going to be subject to a policy, so.
And maybe there's a
Interpretation of
perfectly good
policy.
reason for this. I don't know. I don't see one, but that doesn't mean there isn't one.
There's no reason for that. I mean, they're all over where I live. It's just, you know, and especially since they didn't come to my house for that because I've complied. You know, I got rid of a few little things here, a few little things there, you know, just, and I have voicemails on my phone that don't have to say anything about an ocean container until they get to my property. And that's when I still feel like I'm being harassed. Like right now, I just want to cry because I'm so upset. I'm so angry that they could just come over there and threaten me. You know, we're gonna make it hard on you. You're never gonna get. Look, I lived here for 30 years. You know, it pissed me off. It's gonna hit the fan. I can't. You know, and I'm gonna fight tooth and nail for this to go through. I can't do anything else but just give it my all. It's all really what I have left.
Well, maybe in
Besides
parallel,
selling my property and moving somewhere else.
parallel with your battle, we can sort of try to work towards some sort of path to sanity on this issue, it seems to me. I mean, there might be people who don't want to have containers because, you know, they think they're ugly, so, and I know people have said that at public town council meetings, and it's, well, you know, but it is ag property, and that's, you know, so there's balance, yeah, I'm not saying that that's the right attitude to have, but I know it exists, so maybe there's some justification that we're not aware of, but I think we need to get to the bottom of it. And really, it needs to be rooted in an adopted ordinance. There is no ordinance
Right.
that's commensurate with this policy.
Right.
It's not founded, as far as I can see, it's not founded on anything adopted.
And why
Maybe
did this memo just come about in 2006? What made them decide to make this memo in 2006? But I've had them way before 2006. I mean, I've had them so long you can't even find the paperwork. You know, probably, who knows?
Well, this is the big battle of the county. I mean, there's actually a memo with policy here. A lot of times these policies have nothing behind them at all, not even a single
Right.
sheet of paper.
And it was developed without any community input.
Right.
We never knew about it or heard about it. So,
And wouldn't they be grandfathered if they were already in place?
No, they don't require
They said
building
they're your
permits.
grandfather, and it doesn't make sense to me. You know, I just don't understand it. Because for a lot of other things, grandfather's okay. But I don't, you know, this isn't, if I knew that this is what they're, now this is what it's become. It didn't start out as this, but this is what it's become. Every time they come with district attorney cops that with guns, and then they get up to my property and they say it's okay for them to come up, they go on the radio, the coast is clear. Like, what?
It's a
Like,
whole
I'm a
caravan.
homeowner. I live right up the street from her. I mean, I feel like, I don't know what to do about, do I just take it to my councilman? I'm being harassed by the county. I'll take the county on. I will.
Well, maybe we can figure out something,
At what point do we look at the person who made the complaint? If this person is chronically complaining?
He is.
They
At
can
what
be
point do we look at
anonymous.
that person as a nuisance and realize that he's maybe 5150
Oh.
and discredit,
Yes, exactly.
and discredit the fact that when he calls, because I know I had a neighbor like that, used to call on everything.
Mhm.
If you're playing your radio while you're washing your car,
Yeah.
they were on the phone saying, music's too loud. I mean, we had knocks on the door, I mean, it was crazy. But they eventually labeled them 5150, and when they got a call from that number, they kind of went, oh, okay, we know what we're dealing with here.
is that the sheriff's department or?
Yeah.
The
Okay.
sheriffs will red flag them. No, you guys kind of red, oh.
First of all, you can't call someone 5150 unless they meet the criteria, gravely disabled, danger to themselves, danger to others.
Well, they are.
What they do is, now, that's your opinion, you
Yeah.
have to be diagnosed. Yeah, so that won't happen, but they'll label it in that they're a complainer, but
A nuisance.
per
Yeah.
state law, we still have to come, we still have to take a report, we still have to respond, no matter how many calls are made. And that goes for animal regulation, the fire department, we brush calls, regional planning, zoning, because I can show you houses here where I've gotten 60, 70 complaints in 10 years, I still have to answer them. And even though we write,
I can tell you
ongoing,
the address
here's
of
the
that
call, it
house.
goes into the file, eventually, a DA will decide that they're gonna file. But in 10 years, I've never seen one file. We still have to answer them, and if you look at the call, it shows what they call hazard hits. You can count 8 pages of hazard hits that we've been there numerous times for this, but we still have to answer the call, because if not, now, we're liable for something that could have happened that could be true.
You're making
So that's gonna continue forever.
Can I ask you a question? Now, if they decide to come on my property again, and this, I get like this, and this is what I feel threatened and feel scared, I don't want them around me. Can I call the sheriff's department?
You can call the sheriff's department, yeah.
Wait, so you're telling them not to come on your property and they're coming on anyway?
Well, they said if they can't come on my property, they'll come, they said they'll come when I'm not home, or they'll just, they'll say, that's what they've told me. We've gone up there and taken pictures when you weren't home. I didn't think that was legal. You know, but they tell me this.
I would document every time they tell you that and keep a log.
Okay, am I allowed to record them and video them while they're on my property?
You have to tell them, but,
with permission.
or just, you don't have to get permission, you just say, you're
Just
being
like the
recorded.
city street,
They have the
we
choice
record
to
all the
leave or
time.
stay.
Are they definitely district attorney, they showed the ID?
They're
No,
district
it's
attorney
Cops.
investigators, yeah.
Yeah, I don't, but, you know, there's 5 or 6 of them that roll up to my house, and there's, you know, then they have, you know.
More than that.
Yeah, I don't know, you know, I'm just a single person living up on this hill, you know, and they act like that I'm just, whatever, you know. I'm not, I just get the stresses about it.
The usual team is 3 DA investigators, 1 from regional planning, 1 from health and safety, 1 from building and safety, there's the NAT coordinator, sometimes animal control is with them, sometimes fire's with them, that's the usual
Okay, they
team.
don't roll up 3 deep to my house, they roll up like 6, 7 deep to my
There's
They
house.
all ride separate cars, that's,
Yeah, like, for, you know.
they're all in separate cars.
Yep.
That's, don't ask me, but that's what they do. Because I've seen them at houses here and I count the cars. And it's like, because the regional planning guys don't ride with the DA investigators, those guys go by themselves.
Yeah, they're in their own van.
Right. The van is usually building and safety, regional planning, and health and safety. They usually ride.
So, what is the reason that they send these people up to building and safety? Have they had problems before?
Yes, they have. And that's why they told me if they have an area they think is a problem, it's been flagged as a problem, they'll send a team.
Well, what constitutes a problem?
I have no idea.
Oh, so a problem as they perceive it, not as the sheriff's department perceives it.
Right, it's there, yeah, because I've asked regional planning, well, what's the difference? And what I was told is, hey, if we go to a location and people are friendly, and hey, I didn't know, we can resolve it, put them on a plan, we do that. But if they get nasty with us, or say can't come up here, then we schedule the team.
I've always
But the
allowed them
plan,
on my
but if the
property.
plan turns out to be get rid of it,
Yeah,
tear it down, that's not much of a plan.
that's not much of a plan, I agree, but I'm just telling you what they told me, and it's like, we don't work with them, so we're out of the picture.
What I don't get, and I'm furious right now, because she said that she was told she had to remove a RV off your property,
Yeah,
right?
they told me.
Yeah,
they
that's
told
the
me
same
that
thing with
I
me,
had my
same
RV
thing with
too.
me.
We've got a lot, we've got a property off of Escondido Road that I've had my eye on, that's zoned A2.
Yep.
And he is storing, he's turned himself into a RV
Oh,
storage
yeah.
business on his A2 property.
Right.
I've talked to Daniel Geringer about it, and, basically, you know, it's like, oh, yeah, well, you know, we'll look at it, and nothing is done. So they can just run an RV storage business on A2 property?
Apparently, but you can't put a storage container on your property.
Well, they,
Because it's equipment, and it's unlawful outdoor storage, that's the designation. You can only have outdoor storage on industrially zoned properties or some commercial properties subject to some whatevers. So that's why, you are actually my understanding is the container basically makes you like one of these RV storage places, and that's not allowed. Because the way they've decided to define what a storage container is. It's
But they're
equipment,
going after private
outdoor
residents
storage.
for their own personal stuff, when this guy on Escondido obviously does not own 15 motorhomes and trailers, or 20 or whatever is there now. They're obviously not his, whereas that was her property.
I don't disagree,
I don't
I agree with
understand
you.
the imbalance there.
Well, that's why we
I mean,
need
it
to-
makes me I'm going crazy right now.
well, there are issues like, okay, certain things you can put in your backyard, but you cannot put in your front yard. And those terms are actually explicitly defined. There's side yard, front yard, and backyard definitions in the zoning code. So maybe there's, I don't know, I don't even know if this applies to just backyard and there's nothing allowed in the front yard. They don't even, so we need to drill down on it and see if we can get some sort of clarification, at least find the root in the law.
So how are we gonna get these meetings?
This thing last week or the week before.
Right.
Anyway, it's published, it's out there. I'm surprised you're not hearing from more people concerned about them, because there
They
are
haven't been tagged yet.
dozens and dozens of containers out there.
They haven't been tagged yet.
I think it's-
Sure.
Just I asked the head of the NAT team, the previous head, because they got a new guy as of, I think, mid-year last year. Because I asked him about trailers parked on properties. The definition, what they told me and showed me in the code is, for example, you cannot have a mobile home on your property
Right.
if you have a primary residence. You can only put a mobile home on your property if you've already submitted plans to build a residence.
And you have
And
a
it
site.
has to have electrical, water, and sewer
Right.
permitted hooked to it. Once you give an occupancy of the house, it's like 30 days or 60 days, you have to get rid of the mobile home.
Yep.
The law specifically forbids travel trailers, motor homes, anything else that's hooked up on your property. So you can't live or have somebody in your backyard living in a mobile home or trailer.
But
Or
if
a
you
motor
have
home.
an RV, you can park it in your side
You can
yard.
park it, but it can't be, I was told,
But she can't,
yeah,
apparently.
I was told they can't,
I don't
as
even
long as
have
they're not
any
plugged in, you can have whatever you want stored.
Out of doors, not in the structure.
Not in the store, yeah, it's
Well,
stored.
that's my understanding.
And you know what, a lot of it that I have those ocean containers for a reason, is because we have fire comes through there, it could burn my house down, but I will have all the time to put in the ocean container what I can need to be spared. Okay, that's another reason that I've had them, I have tools, my house is easy to rob, period.
Well, I mean, you don't have to
That's
justify, I want to just get to the
Right.
issue.
I don't know what to do, I don't know what am I gonna do, is just turn it into the storage container? They want me to snitch on everybody that I know that has a storage container. If I were to do that, this whole town would just, I don't know what would happen. I'm not gonna do that anyways, it's not what I do. But I feel like I'm being singled out.
You might be.
And it's all over, you just have to.
We know of
No,
other
it's didn't
things
start
that
as
have been
that,
singled
but it's ended
out,
up in that.
other properties that have
Started
been
off with
singled.
something, I don't even know what. Somebody made a complaint that somebody was living in my motorhome. That's not the original complaint either. I know what the original complaint was, it's so bogus.
But it brought the county to your property, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden it became about the containers.
Yes.
Well-
It's been going on for a year and a half. I'm like ready to lose it.
Do you guys wanna do, then, do you try to do something like this? Cause I don't have an idea to fix this, I just don't see how it's rooted in actual adopted rules. So what should we
Well,
do?
I mean, the only thing I can see is to force the county to define their policy and back it up.
So do we need a motion on that, or are you, we're all gonna try to,
Yeah.
you'll talk to them, right? Okay, great,
I'll work with you after.
okay,
Okay.
all right.
So we probably don't need a motion then?
I don't know,
think
Tom,
so.
Well, we can just do the motion to
Okay.
put the same group of people together to look at the container issues.
Okay, I'll make the
It's a
motion
separate
that
issue.
we try to meet with Public Works and Regional Planning to drill down on the storage container policy.
Is it possible to incorporate a policy in the community standards district and exclude the county?
Well, we've been told that to even make a change to the CSD will take at least 10 years.
So I mean, if you could prove that it's too nebulous and not defined, and you have your own definition and
Right.
policy to substitute.
That would work, but it's gonna take time to get that
Yeah.
implemented at this time.
But to actually get it into the CSD, it doesn't take any time to get a policy done. I mean, they do them like they.
Sometimes they just spew them out.
So, but I don't think we can get anything in this. We're trying to get something in the CSD we were promised a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, and it's still not there, so. And it's 5 words added, so.
I asked them when they came over to show me the section, where it is in their book, and they said they wouldn't.
You said it wasn't.
It's not in there.
So that was that's the whole point. I was like, this
It's
is
not,
not.
there's no law in there, it says inactive anywhere, you can have, you
Yeah.
can
What are
have
you doing
a
here?
whole, you can have 10 ocean containers on your property, there's nowhere in their book. They won't show it to me, that's when I asked him that, is when he got really mad.
So did you ask him that after I suggested you ask him that? I mean, you asked him that because,
Oh,
oh,
absolutely.
I figured that would be the answer you get.
And that was
And it made
Daniel.
them so angry, you know, I thought he kept throwing his badge at me like this, like, don't you know who I am, I'm gonna make life hard on you, you guys, you know, blah, 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 I'm hysterical.
That was Daniel.
Daniel Barringer.
He
Really?
got very violent.
Yeah, he was starting to get violent, the only reason they left him was because this other lady that was from
Building safety.
building safety, her name was Lou Stager, she was, we better just go now, we better just go now.
He was getting in her face.
Well, you know, we can't, there's nothing we can do about it, but
I
we
know
can at
that,
least
I
try
know
to.
Have you thought about getting
Bird
some
dog
legal advice? And I know it's expensive, and I know, you know, but. have you-
Yeah, it is expensive, you know, that's a problem I have, I mean, my husband's retired, I'm still
Yeah.
working, but, you know, even just for the applications for anything, or anything to do anything legally, I don't want to do everything illegal, but it's not illegal. You know, I don't understand
I mean,
why.
it's part of- They're coming up and they keep telling you you're not in compliance. Has
Yeah.
the district attorney filed anything against you?
No,
But they can't show you the ordinance you're
no, they
violating.
cannot show it to me in the book, when I asked them that last time, because you told me to ask them that, they got so heated.
I just suggested it. I didn't
Well, I
say
said it, so they were, you know, just like they completely lost their minds, like I
Well,
was
there's
just.
something
Then
really
they got
wrong
mad because we
there.
had
Well,
to
they're-
have-
yeah, well,
And they were mad because that memo that we gave you guys, they were mad that memo got out and got to you guys.
Well, that's because I have never seen it, and I've always wanted to see it, but.
Safety.
So you told them that you gave it to the Acton Town Council and
Yes,
they
I
got
did.
upset?
Yes, I did.
It's a public policy by a public office. They can't hide it.
Published?
Are you A1 or?
It's, you know what, let's just, I think we need to bring it down. Because
Yeah.
we're gonna try to do what we can.
So
Yeah.
should I read the motion?
Yeah, oh, sorry, yeah.
Yes.
It's similar to the
Because
one
I'm
we
getting
already-
mad.
it's very similar
I don't
to
wanna
what
get
we-
mad.
It's what
I
we
haven't
already
had
did.
my cake yet.
Should we put Katherine Barger's office in this one too?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so Jackie made a motion, we tried to meet with Public Works, Regional Planning, and Katherine Barger's office to nail down storage container policy.
Yeah,
Is that it?
yeah, that's sufficiently nebulous that we can
We
do
can
a lot.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
doesn't just say ocean containers, it's
Yeah.
storage.
Right.
We have a second?
All right, I made the motion, so I can't second.
Yes, okay, so 10 seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, no opposed, no abstentions, motion carries. All right, looks like we're getting busy again.
Never goes away.
That's-
So you guys are gonna make that for like another meeting, a whole separate meeting, or?
Well, what we're gonna try to do is get together with the county folks with the help of Supervisor Barger's office.
Okay.
And just find out where it comes from, you know, and, you know, if this community has got nothing against storage containers, and believe me, they're all over my neighborhood, and we don't complain about them.
Mine too.
It's part of living in a rural area. It's one of the reasons people live in rural areas, to have access to land and use it, so.
I've been here for 25 years, almost going on 30.
Again, with the caveat though, there's a difference between a front yard and a backyard. I mean, they're,
Well, I'm up on a hill, I don't really have a
Right.
backyard or a front yard, basically,
Right.
you know, it's up on my way at the top of
And,
it.
and nobody has a sight down into your property, or
Do what?
nobody sees down on you, or,
No, I'm
You're at the top, so-
I'm at the top of my hill.
yeah. So somebody has to come up and look for your violations, if they were violations, so look for issues.
Or the psycho neighborhood unit.
Who still needs to make her way up to look?
Yeah,
His
he
or her.
called on us before one time because my music was too loud. When I was outside washing my car, he called the police on that, the sheriff's on that. Then he called the sheriff's and the, humane, or the dog people to come out because my dogs were barking. I had 2 dogs at the time. They have 6 dogs that bark all day. Why don't I quit playing? I'm just,
Yeah, I can understand your frustration.
I
Yeah, I
just-
really can.
Yeah, we had to go to court, but isn't I had to go to court for that? And he wanted, so you dogs cannot bark outside. What?
Yeah, it's you know, a case of selective compliance, or selective enforcement rather. Doesn't seem fair.
selective compliance, I like that.
And that did not mean selective compliance, I meant selective enforcement. Okay. Sheriff, you want to give your report now?
Sure.
Okay.
Did you need one? I'll buy you two.
Sure. Since he went, I don't know, maybe to another state together.
Hey, keep proud of it.
All right. Well, sorry I missed the first half of the meeting. Fortunately, we had a missing distressed hiker up that I came to, and then followed up with a 3-car pileup on the 14 at Red Rover that closed the whole northbound side. Just another day. All right, well, I'm sure you guys have heard all the excitement we've had in town. And I see the rumor mill is alive on the Acton site.
Yes, it
Because
is.
somebody put in there 5 hours ago, it says that the Acton Bell Pharmacy was hit over the weekend.
Yeah.
Well, if it was, I'd like to see the report because there's been no call to the sheriff's department. And nobody seems to know about it, except this person who put it on the Acton website.
And the stuff up at Santiago?
Well, that was a week and a half ago. So they're
Exactly.
a little behind. Now, there was an attempt at the pharmacy. And there was an attempt at the market a day apart. And in both cases, the individuals dropped part of their ID at the doorway. And the one where they hit S&S, they left their cell phone at the back door. I'm not saying anything about criminals, but I'll never be out of a job, okay? But in regards to the suspects, they are not from here. They are Crip gang members out of Long Beach. One of the individuals is the primary person who hit the pharmacies last year. Unfortunately, with no DNA and no photographic evidence because they're wearing masks, they skipped. One of the same individuals was arrested for one of these Santa Clarita burglaries. Of course, he's out now, and he's back. So we at least now have a good address on where these individuals are. So hopefully we'll have an arrest within the week. That's the good news on that one. And the vandalism that was tied to the salon, the dental office, the construction office, and Brady Watt's empty storage area next to it, we haven't figured out. We have some video, but we don't know if it was related. They were testing our response times. or if it was vandalism because somebody was mad at somebody and they threw rock, because nothing was taken out of any of those locations, nothing at all. They smashed windows and moved on to the next building. So we're still looking at that. I looked at the video and tried to decide who it was, but it's really grainy. One of the issues they have, and I know we're rural, and I know we don't like lights, but the lack of lights is really letting these guys go. Because there's no lights in half of these centers at night, and they know it. And they come by, they get off the freeway, they do their thing, they get back on the freeway. The guys that are the gang members from Long Beach are basically hitting everywhere from Escondido, California, through Ventura, and they're making a loop. They come up to 15, and they'll hit Hesperia, they'll hit Phelan, they'll hit here, they'll hit Santa Clarita, they'll hit up north, and then they do their thing, and they go all night. And so it's hard to catch them, but hopefully, with a little luck, now that we have some ID and paperwork, and we have a witness that confronted one of them, we might be able to get something done. So, all in all, last month we had 37 incidents that resulted in reports. We had 3 cases of mentally ill 5150s, which I will point out so you know, sheriff's deputies are empowered by the state of California. We can actually commit someone 5150 over and above the medical doctor. Medical doctors can't do that. Nurses can't do that. Firefighters can't do it. We can do it. Or psychiatrists. So these were 3 that were in need of help, and we gave them. We had 1 misdemeanor vandalism, 1 deceased person, 2 suspicious circumstance reports, 3 suspected child abuse reports, 1 theft from an unlocked vehicle, 1 felony vandalism, 3 impounds, 1 stolen license plate, 3, they used to call them terrorist threats, it's now criminal threats, where someone's threatened to hurt somebody and they have the means and the ability to do it. Those are felonies. 1 forgery, and then the burglaries, we had 7 businesses at night forced, and a burglary, by the way, is not necessarily taking anything, it's entering a structure for the purpose of committing a theft or any other crime. So breaking a window and put your foot inside, that's burglary. So that's why those got counted. We had 1 burglary at night, no force. 1 attempted, which was the pharmacy. 1 misdemeanor domestic violence assault, 1 ID theft, 1 shoplifting, 1 petty theft from another structure, 1 weapons laws felony, which was also tied to the 3 drug arrests, and 1 grand theft auto. So, you know, if you take away the burglaries that we have, then it's a lot less. We do have, like I said before, an increase of drug use because heroin seems to be the big thing, and the individuals picked up were all under the influence of heroin. In fact, one of them I saw in court today, and he'll probably be going away for a while because it's 2nd and 3rd offense. But like I said, that seems to be a big problem. And yeah, I think that covers about. Anybody have any questions on that?
Thank you.
The Actonville attempted burglary?
That's a temp, yeah.
Yeah.
They tried to get in the back door.
And they gave up, and they were run off, or?
Well, that was the one where somebody at the business next door drove up. And they've done a lot to fortify the place.
Yeah.
They tried to get in through the deadbolt, which is not going to do them any good because of the bracing they did to the door. So they succeeded in damaging a deadbolt that would have no effect on what they did. But gentleman drove up, thought they were dumpster diving, yelled, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he said, he realized it was their back towards them, and one guy had a crowbar. They looked at him, they turned around, they ran. One guy dropped his wallet, so he was gonna go pick it up, and the guy turned around, he said, "I saw the crowbar," and I basically let him pick his wallet up and go. And they had a car parked around the corner. So he thought they were on foot going south on Soledad, that's what it was called in as. So units are going on Soledad, and he goes, "I didn't realize that they actually started a car, and they may have gone back around Crown Valley going north," he couldn't see it. But that was the attempt. And then a couple of days later, we think the same guy was back trying to get into the market, and had no luck with that either. So I wrote a report on that and filed it underneath one of the same attempt that the pharmacy had.
Which market, the original?
The original market, yeah. So, yeah, it's all tied in, but yeah, they've kept us going. And we've had, at least had a meeting with the watch commander, and I've been looking at the detail logs for the units that are out here, and they're out here pretty much now all the time hitting the shopping centers. Also, Brady Watt pays a fortune a month for security guards to hit all the shopping centers. So, and Brady and I talked about that too, so.
I've seen the signs, I haven't actually seen.
Yeah, they come late at night, and they're mobile, and they go between the two areas, so. Hopefully, we'll catch it. What concerns me though is when I read in the Acton site about people saying we're gonna take matters in our own hands.
Yes.
And all I gotta say is be very careful about that, because whoever does that will be the one that loses, not the criminal. Because you're not police officers, you don't have the same rights that we do. And somebody told me they're just gonna shoot the guy. Well, you can't, because California will come down on you like a ton of bricks for murder. So that's what we're here for. So if everybody just lets us do our job, eventually we'll get there. It's just taking a while. But the IDs on the phone do help.
Yes.
Especially when the guy's picture's on the phone. It's like,
And his associates.
and his associates, it kind of ties it in, so. Sir?
Just to be real clear, are we in an open carry part of the county?
Nope, there is no open carry in the entire state of California.
In unincorporated areas?
Nope. California passed a law that says you can't carry, period, unless you have a concealed carry permit, which you will never get
Yeah, no.
down here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they,
On your property only,
only in your house.
in your house?
You can't really carry on your open part of your property that's exposed to any streets.
You can't patrol from your house
No,
to
because-
another building?
Well, if you're going from your house to a building, it's, well, yeah, but if you're out at your fence that's facing a road,
Right.
and somebody calls and says, "Hey, this guy's wearing a gun, he threatened me," they're gonna go after you for the terrorist threats.
Okay.
So, if you're gonna carry it, I can't tell you what to do, but,
Yeah, no, I tried to get a concealed carry.
Yeah,
I can't
they-
get one, and I can't get a response from the sheriff in time.
well,
Like, gotta do something.
you just gotta keep calling.
It doesn't-
But you cannot
You can't have hours.
well, you cannot go after somebody unless they physically threaten you with lethal force.
Which is what happens, but,
So,
okay.
well, they have a gun, they pull a gun on you,
Mhm.
and you call the sheriff.
I didn't bother, it's about the fifth time it's happened, and it took 3.5 hours every other time I called them.
Well, it depends on how you call. If you call a business line, it's gonna be a long time. If you call 911,
When I called 911, it was 3 hours, because they interpreted it as a non-emergency situation, and I had a guy who's stealing equipment. I mean, it's been a while, but.
yeah, I haven't seen that
understand how
call.
helpless we feel, but when you make a call, we're told that it's not
But-
important.
Well,
So I gotta take care of it.
yeah, unfortunately, you will be the one that pays for it. I'm just
I
telling you
understand,
because,
but I take that responsibility when I decide to confront the guy.
because when I was in court, there's a gentleman from Little Rock that did that same thing, so now they're going after him for assault with a deadly weapon and other charges, and he was on his property, but he pointed the gun at the guy had no gun.
That's not smart, man.
And that's where he lost. And
Yeah.
I'm just warning you.
No, I know,
It'll-
that's what I'm
it'll
trying to
happen.
be really clear about, because I interpreted that we were in an unincorporated area, that we were still, there was still that little vestige.
That hasn't been around for 20 years.
Oh, no.
No, it hasn't been around for 20 years with unincorporated. So, and state law trumps county law, and federal law trumps state law in most cases, but I know.
I don't know how the sheriff's department interprets it, because it's really hard to tell, because obviously
Well, if you
remember
call,
my research was
I'm-
2006.
I don't want to take up too much time, but if you call and say, hey, there's a guy on my property, and I think he's taking stuff, whoever the call taker is going to interpret that as, well, there's somebody on your property, he's trespassing. If you say, I got a guy here, and he's threatened, I told him to get off my property, he's threatened me, and he's stealing, now it comes a burglary in progress.
Right.
They will come red lights and siren.
Yeah, I didn't have that criteria, because he hadn't loaded the equipment in the trailer yet.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have to load it. If he's taking it, he's stealing it.
No, he parked the trailer on
Yeah,
the.
so, but, yeah, you need to call up, I mean, we have 2 units out here at night now, 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And when they're out here, the closest place is 9 minutes away from, because they're usually hanging out in Acton because of everything going on. I've been checking their logs to make sure. And I'm looking at the emergency calls, and the response time has been between 3 and 5 minutes. So they're out here.
Good. Okay.
So I don't want to see anybody get in trouble for doing something they shouldn't do. All right? Thanks.
Go into a good night quietly. Okay.
It's too sweet, isn't it?
No, it's not.
It's puckery, I like the puckery part.
Eat more.
The cake is phenomenal.
All right,
Oh, good. Have more.
signage, proposed signage changes in town?
Yes, a couple of things. Because of the information that Mitch sent me, I was able to look at some things, and the Shell station has proposed a whole new signage plan for their facilities. I was surprised to see that, and I went and talked to Tina this morning, and I looked at the plans, and they all are, of course, internally lit and everything. And when I saw this last week, I had done a deep dive into some of these signage issues in 2014, and met with Norm Hickling, and I think it might have been Mitch Glazer, not Oscar Gomez, but I couldn't remember who at Regional Planning, to talk about this, the Shell signs in particular, because they had submitted a plan in 2002 to change their size area, their signs, and they were told that that's fine, you can change it because you're making the face smaller, but because the CSD went into effect in 1996, you have a 10-year window for having a non-conforming use, but then it sunsets after 10 years. And so they were told that they would have to take all the signs down that don't comply with the CSD. And so I went by Tina's office today, and I had photographs of that, and I'd scanned copies of that information because I had to go down to LA to pull the file, and it was about this thick. And so Tina only had some of the information. She didn't have all that information, so I sent it to her last week. And my understanding is that the regional planning has told Shell that they cannot change their signage, because right now the area they've got for their what they call the I can't remember what they're called, the ones that sits in the corner and it's got 2 posts and it's like 30 feet high. That's got a lot more area than what was approved even in 2002. So my understanding is regional planning is going to tell Shell that they have to take it all down and bring those signs into compliance with the CSD. And then I learned that McDonald's had submitted sign plans as far back as August for their new rebuild, or redesign or something. But in the most recent set that Tina had gone through was just dated like a week or two ago. But the set says that all the signs they won't be lit at all, not even externally, which is interesting because our CSD allows externally lit signs. So at least with respect to what's been approved at the McDonald's, it sounds like it complies with the CSD. So I thought that was good news.
When the representative was here from McDonald's, he said that they weren't gonna remodel the outside, but they were gonna remodel the inside and possibly update their sign.
Right.
That's what he told us.
Right, and that it would be.
So that tracks with what he said.
Well, that it was a different company and they would come when they submitted it. I was a little bit thrown when I saw that it got submitted in August. That was a little bit of a,
Yeah, because,
Surprise
yes,
to me.
because they sat here and said they would come.
yeah. But it could
Yeah.
be, and you know, the plans that, there were 3 sets of plans that I looked through and they were all a little bit different and they were all from, it appeared to be different companies. So maybe they're just, I don't know. So maybe different companies do it. And, but at least we're kind of moving in the right direction on that. So I thought that was good news. And that regional planning is going to do the right thing and have them comply with our CSD. So I'm hearing angels sing. Yeah.
Except for the banner signs that are going up, that are the real estate signs that are on Bravadero's property now, did you?
Oh, yeah, there's a canvas banner, right?
Yeah, 2 of them.
Yeah.
And it's a realtor, you know.
Yeah, and when I looked at the realtor signs, or temporary signs, I think they're called temporary realtor signs, they're allowed a big old area for those things. So I don't know. Did you call Oscar? Did you get any, is there anything that can be done?
He said he was sending somebody out and would be getting back to me.
Oh, okay.
And since then, the 2 banners went up on the corner.
Yeah, that just came out in the last couple of days, right?
Yeah, it's been about a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're huge. And there's no excuse for that kind of sign, in my opinion. Being a retired realtor, a regular real estate sign's gonna do the same job.
Right. It certainly isn't dear and western like we want to see, but that was something that was not handled in our CSD. Probably should have been, so throw that on the pile too, for stuff. Now, the other thing, there's an M1 plot plan going in right next to, it's somebody named Trevelyan. And
Jonathan?
I have, she said that was the name. No, this is on Soledad. It's right next to, I call it the Dave Weary project, the building with the, not requiring, you know, they're just, their policy for landscaping has to be 3 foot deep, and for every linear foot of frontage, you have to have that much square footage of landscaping, which means that it's, there's not a lot, it's sparse. And then that one, the one that's with just the rocks and the gate to the west of the structure, that was not permitted for outdoor storage at all. That's the reason those fences are only 6 feet high, is it was permitted for nursery stock, outdoor nursery things.
And they had nursery stock there years ago.
Yeah, well, I drove by there today, I didn't see anything on
Yeah.
there at all. And then the property next to it, there's enforcement action on that, which is the property further to the west, which might be the property that, who was it was talking about they were pulling out, it was,
No, we're talking about
No.
the one on, the new one on next to La Cabaña that we discussed.
okay,
Doesn't have any landscaping yet.
okay.
All the trucks in there. That's one.
Well, this is in that same area, this is right next to that, so, anyway,
Farther to
it's
the
further west, okay. I'm not sure where the property line
Where's the
stuff
one
is.
that you're talking about, the M1 plot plan was just?
It's east of the
Big structure?
yes, it's east.
On the same side as Soledad?
Yes,
Yes.
and half of it already has a bunch of stuff on it, and she said, oh, it's already got a building on it, that's been there forever. This is not part of this development, or the plot plan. And I looked at it and said, it did seem to be not touching this part, but when you drive by there, where everything is, including old mobile homes and stuff, is on that part that's not supposed to be part of this, so. And she didn't say there was an existing plot plan for that parcel, so there's stuff to be sifted out, but at any rate,
Clarified, I just drove up there and I didn't see that. Just took a drive.
well, maybe we'll just get, before your next Acton takes action. Then I was talking to her, I said, well, if there are any new developments along here, industrial needs to have a trail for our general plan, just like commercial does. And so she said, no, there is no trail on Soledad. And I said, no, I know there's a trail on Soledad, a map trail. And she said, no, here it is. It ends at Santiago and goes north. And I said, well, I know there's a trail at Santiago, but it also goes up to continues up to Soledad. And she pulled the screen over, and sure enough, there is no trail mapped on there. But this is the map trail that we got from Parks and Recs, or not we, but 6 years ago, the town council, that clearly shows, it's called the Acton Community Trail, right up Soledad. So I'm a little bit concerned that we're not going to get our trail dedications because it doesn't even show that we have the trails. So I've been trying to break loose a meeting with Parks and Recs, because we voted on that a month ago, and I got an email from Oline, I might be saying her name wrong, and she said, yeah, we'll be happy to meet with them. Like, well, give us a few dates and times. And then I never heard back from her. That was about a week and a half ago. So I will follow up with her tomorrow. But, if regional planning doesn't even have the maps of where our trails are, we're never going to get these things.
What was her name that you were meeting with at Parks and Rec?
Well, I was communicating with to set up a meeting. Her name was Oline, O-L-I-N-E is her first name, and I don't recall the last name, but I can forward it to you. So I will, you know what, I will reach out to her with another email. I'll CC you, Donna.
CC me, just CC me.
Okay, and
yeah.
so.
And maybe if you CC me, she'll respond soon.
Probably, yeah. And then there is the Primo Burger subdivision appeal before the Board of Supervisors is May 23rd. And there's one more thing. I'm going to write it down. We sent the letter, oh, that was it. We sent the letter on the oleander, and that got a lot of response and a lot of concern, so that was really good. Christina, emailed back, and I said, well, I believe it. I gave her she goes, who is it that told you that it's required? And I said, nobody told me it was required. I saw the plot plan, and it said required oleander, and oh, by the way, it's planted inside the fence line, so it's not clear what the point of that was. And so I talked to her about that. Well, okay, so she said, well, we appreciate this, and I think they're going to move forward with not approving oleander going forward. But I asked her a little bit today about how this came about, because the fence is 6 feet and something, and she said, well, I guess a couple of years ago, one of the planners approved for an M1 facility less than a 8-foot fence, just a 6-foot chain link without the slats. And so that's why they've approved things like oleander to provide that kind of screening. And I'm like, well, that's not even in the code, It's like, well, it was a policy, and nobody objected to it, so it's just sort of what we do now. And I'm like, well,
they don't tell you that you're going to do that. They're not going to get any objection if nobody knows.
well, it's a very powerful thing to try to fight City Hall, right? And 99% of the people say, yeah, fight City Hall. And they're mostly right. So it's like, well, it's been approved. There's nothing we can do about it. Doesn't mean people are happy about it. So at any rate, my understanding is the approval on the oleanders was because the slats, it wasn't going to be solid or invisible or visible limiting fence. At least that's what I understand. So, and I said to her, well, I think, if you guys implement some sort of policy or change what you're going to do, maybe you should talk to the community first. Because we're seeing a lot, we're getting slammed right, left, and center with these things, legal and illegal.
I find it interesting that Country Club has oleanders all along the Crown Valley side.
Yeah,
And they're a feed store, so they're all about animals, so I'm just surprised that is there, unless that was there before they moved in.
Yeah, I have no idea. Anyways.
Huh?
They're old. I think they've been there.
So I think that's it on planning and zoning and open space and trails and coordination.
So what happens on May 23rd? You said
The board is going to hear the Primo Burger subdivision appeal.
for the Board of Supervisors.
That's correct.
Save a little time.
So, yes, I don't remember if it was for Sable Rotunda or if I just did it, I don't recall. But it has been scheduled. And one great thing that came out of that subdivision is the trail dedication was established. I'm hoping that's not reconsidered by the board, because it is required in both our CSD that says subdivisions shall have trails, and in our general plan that says commercial buildings are supposed to be connected by trails. So I'm hoping that, I have not seen what has been submitted by the applicant at this point, so I don't know if they're going to challenge that. We'll find out. Oh, and the what, the signal on here? When should I talk about that?
Yeah.
That sigma's gonna be under the Public Works and Utilities probably.
Okay, all right, okay, all right. That's it.
Okay. High-speed rail?
I don't really have anything on high-speed rail, Jackie, do you, other than I responded for being on the,
Oh, you did? Okay.
yeah.
We, per our action at the last regular meeting,
Right.
we did vote to request consulting status for the architectural and cultural heritage analysis process the high-speed rail is going to be doing. Submitted that letter, and it was accepted, and Pam's the point of contact. There are some, there was a lot of cautionary language. There's sensitive archaeological structures out there, and if you know where where they're found, you're not supposed to share that with anybody because people don't want them obviously desecrated.
Right.
So one thing I was thinking we could do is just say, well, maybe not tell us, just tell us what they are. Don't tell us where they are, other than maybe in the Liso Rastre, or maybe in the, over there in the
Right.
forest, and then we'll be sort of, we won't have to be as, we can share the information with the public. I don't know what you think of that, but maybe.
No, I'm fine with that.
Okay,
I
so
like
maybe
that
you,
idea.
next time you can communicate with them, you can offer that as like, okay, how about if you just don't give us, GPS coordinates for this
Yeah.
8,000-year-old petroglyph, just to tell us
Yeah, but
there's,
they're
so that.
very concerned about the
Because one thing I understand from the cultural expert, resource expert from the Forest Service, is that when the station fire came through, it cleared out a lot of areas, and they found like 10 times more cultural, archaeological things than they ever knew were there. So it's a very resource-rich area in the Aliso Arastre, which is why it's identified as the first special object called out for special protection by the San Gabriel Mountains National Monument Proclamation. But at any rate, so.
Well, since you mentioned the monument, so Trump has told the Department of Interior?
Yes.
To
USDA.
take a look at these monuments and decide if they're legitimate or not.
That,
And
yes,
mostly Utah, I guess, is where a lot of this.
bears ears.
Yeah, so, I don't know, is this something that we want to be interested in, to see if our Angeles National Monument is something that we really want?
Well,
And because it's a lot of square areas, a lot of square acres, that may or may not deserve, or we may or may not want to have that monument status. It's something to think about.
well, yeah, we want to put comments in on that, they need to be submitted within the next 45 minus 7 days, because he issued it a week ago. And at the last San Gabriel Mountains Collaborative meeting, last Thursday, this topic was big, because it had just happened the day before. And I've drafted the letter for the collaborative, saying, here are all the factors, so we meet the definition of under the Antiquities Act, which is what the monument was created under. But there are a number of people in the collaborative who are not necessarily thrilled there is a monument, and then there are people in the collaborative who are upset that the monument stops literally at the ridgeline here and doesn't go all the way over to the other side. So we have both sides here in the collaborative, and I'm sure we can have both sides here in, within the community. one reason I think that monument status is helpful to us is because it's right where the high-speed rail wants to go above ground. So I see that as another backstop to protect the area, but maybe it's too intrusive. I don't, we have not asked for comments from the community on this, and it just came out a week ago, so. But comments have to, the Secretary of the Interior has to get his analysis or preliminary report, I think, out within 45 days. So the collaborative is writing a letter, or I'm writing a letter for the collaborative. But if we want to write a letter, we can do that, but I don't know what position we take if we're against the reform.
I don't know, it's just,
Yeah.
it's something to consider, but you're right about the high-speed rail issue, at least on South Street.
Well, that's why I've always sort of perceived the monument as something that benefits us. And also, if you look at the language of the proclamation that was signed, there's language in there about transportation. And what I've been fighting for on this collaborative now for 3 years is like, whatever you do, you cannot affect the surrounding communities. You can't look to Acton to be the gateway and provide the hotels and the restaurants for all the recreators within the park. And the proclamation doesn't, facilitate that. And the Forest Service is being very good about being sensitive to that issue. So I'm not too worried about that, but again, we do have a train station, and heaven knows what that could someday do if this becomes whatever, so, anyway.
On the high-speed rail issue, it almost seems like that monument was put in place to push that high-speed rail to the north, to go through Acton, where
I don't know.
not going through the forest or under the forest route. So I don't.
Still goes through Acton, even down south though, I mean, both. They're
Yeah.
both terrible, they need to be underground, I'm just gonna tell you. And on the high-speed rail issue, sorry, I find it interesting that Palmdale is agitating very heavily to high-speed rail to put the train in a trench for them, so they can cover it over and to build on it. And so Palmdale's asking for it to be underground. And when I said that to their transportation guy, he goes, no, it's in a trench. I said, in a trench so you can cover it up. It's underground. Oh, okay. It's like you now see where we're coming from, perhaps. So I thought that was fascinating. So anyway.
Well, I don't really have a position on the monument one way or the other, so nobody's interested in taking
Does
it
anybody
out.
have a feeling or a position on it one way or the other? Or? I think you're right. I think it's driven by areas that have oil, gas, and mineral extraction. We have some mineral extraction, but that's preserved, so that's not going to be stopped. So there's nothing, the driver isn't here for the monument, but that doesn't mean anything. Like he could still, whatever, so. Anyway, that's
Okay.
it for me.
Did you guys hear that Morales resigned?
Yes.
And it's interesting, we don't know who we're getting in his place, do we? Yet? No.
Probably someone else from Mineta.
Did you hear? Did he resign? No, Morales resigned, but
Like a week and a half ago, right?
no, it's not. They didn't give me, I didn't hear any reason for his resignation, but he's so high up in the food chain that it's startling when such a person would lose or leave. And they're also talking about the expense. It's just up and up, and there's still no money. But I'll make you a bet that since the governor signed the tax bill,
It's gonna go pay for it.
he's gonna steal that money because there's no clause in there that says that he can't take it away and use it elsewhere.
Under some sort of, what he calls an emergency situation or something.
Well, and you can't even blame it on a supermajority either. There was one holdout, and then somebody, one Democratic holdout on the tax bill, and then somebody took his place, so. And there we have humongous gas tax coming, so.
The public is really just trampled on with these things.
Hey, if the public doesn't stand up, they deserve it. I'm sorry. You gotta stand up.
Yeah, but what you need is leadership. You need somebody with the time and the money to stand up and take on the leadership
That's
role,
true.
and it's very hard to find that,
That's true.
especially a charismatic leader who's really gonna stir up the public. And look at, we're waiting to see what happens with the whole water with Pacific Legal Foundation. They're still not doing anything yet either. So, though there's bills in Congress supposedly that would modify the, anyway, that's a different
All right,
subject.
so let's.
We can go on.
You want to hear on that later, maybe.
Yeah. Okay, Association of Rural Town Councils, publicity, I don't have anything on the publicity side, and I'm not sure how.
I missed the meeting last
You
week.
missed the meeting, okay. Okay. Finance, Ways and Means, Pam, is there more to add on the treasurer's report?
No, I don't.
Bylaws, I guess,
You ready to get back to finishing that up?
well, I think we're just waiting for Ruth's coup d'etat on the IRS, and then we can move forward.
Okay, it's looking good. Yeah, as soon as she's got that, I don't think it's gonna take us very long.
Yeah, okay. Disaster planning,
Keep saying.
I still owe you some text. I'm sorry, I've been overwhelmed the last few weeks, so I'll work on that.
You skipped down Public Works, that's where we're gonna talk
Yeah.
about Sigma.
Okay, back to Public Works.
Well, why don't you finish off emergency? You done?
Well, as I
The school call contact.
yeah, we had the school contact issue, which I'll deal with directly. And then as a few weeks ago, we're going to, hopefully we can find somebody from the community to step in and kind of chair this committee. For this,
Great.
I don't, unfortunately don't have the time to make it happen. I've tried and we started and stopped a little bit, but you really need somebody who's really dedicates some time to it.
So we need a community leader.
We need a community leader, and I promised Lillian that I would write some text for her to publish, and I'll take care of that this week.
So on the public works and utilities, we talked about some public works things, but this is on the Sigma. There was a good meeting. You were there, a really good meeting, I think, on April 18th at the community center to address the implementation of the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. As I understand it, the issue will be before the Board of Supervisors on the 23rd of May, which is the same day as the Prima Burger hearing. And the commitment that was made to the community of Acton was that, yes, we have to form the GSA by 30 June, but at the first practicable opportunity, which my understanding will be early next year, they will submit applications to the Department of Water Resources to amend the boundaries so that we are out of the Antelope Valley high priority basin. And the expectation is, so no commitment, of course, because it's DWR, that the boundary would be reprioritized down to very low, at least low, if not very low, priority status, which would, Mr. Masabas was asked, and I might be mispronouncing his name, several different times in several different ways from people saying, okay, so if we're prioritized to low priority basin, will you dissolve the GSA? Because once the GSA is formed, everybody in the GSA is subject to registration, and you have to pay for the GSA. You have to pay for their time and effort. So there was a lot of interest in the room, I think, that once we're no longer a medium or high priority basin, there's no point to having a GSA. And I think in the end, he finally agreed, yes, we will dissolve it. He called me the next day and he said, we've looked into it, we talked to DWR, and there's no reason why we can't dissolve the GSA when it's done. So I don't know if that was it was certainly a commitment that it can be done and an interest that it would be done, although not a commitment that it would be done, if that makes sense. So I thought that was very good news.
That sounds fantastic. It
Yeah.
almost sounds.
Too good to be true. I know.
I
My
think
eyebrows
he's-
going
I
up.
think he's committed to working.
That's
with
really good.
I
one,
think so
Kathy.
too.
Yeah.
I think so
And
too.
Dylan, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
We pop back up to the community standards. Donna, do you know if we have any clarity on what's happening with our drive-through ban with
Not.
you do not, okay. What'd you suggest we do next?
We have a new planning deputy that has just started with us this
Oh.
week. His name is Chris Perry.
He was transportation.
No, that's Dave
That's
Perry.
Dave.
Oh.
And yes, it is Dave's brother.
Oh my goodness.
Very nice man. I've just met him once. He's coming out to sit down and go over as many issues as we can. Adele's left him a long list of our regional unincorporated issues and things. that
Probably lots of four-letter words.
I know. Well, he said, let's just get some priority going here and we'll go over everything anyway. So I'm very encouraged. He's very, he's been very responsive and he's just started, but very bright. He worked previously with, I'm trying to think of some of his background. He was a ledge director at one time for Congressman McKeon. So, you know, he's aware of some of our regional issues. And again, Dave's brother's going, you know, is going to be a help for us as far as them working together on projects together. I think it's going to be really good.
Is he kind of a local person, like in Santa Clara Valley, or?
Was from, originally they are from Thousand Oaks, Simi
Oh,
Valley
okay.
area, so they've grown up in, you know, the Southern California area.
Okay.
And he just relocated here. I don't know what I can't remember exactly what he was doing he was living in Tahoe. Him and his
Oh,
family,
okay.
his family and children.
But he's probably down in LA. He won't be too local
He'll be
here.
in LA, no, but
Okay,
he's
yeah.
already set a date for me, you know,
Okay.
to come out here and, you know, see sites and do whatever we need to do to get started and plan accordingly and address things that have been hanging for a while, like CSD amendments and approvals and that kind of stuff. So, maybe I'll have an answer for you soon.
Okay, great, thank you.
So he's actually replacing Adele then?
He is
Okay.
replacing Adele.
So he's the
He is the deputy,
Big
he
planner.
is our planning deputy, our
Okay.
new planning deputy, Chris Perry.
Okay, beautification, illegal dumping, and perspective. We'll have to, this is spelled out in the bylaws, right? Kelly?
What?
This committee, beautification, illegal dumping, and perspective?
I'm gonna look that up.
I think it is.
Positive. I think they are. I think everyone that we have on there. they-
Okay, so we'll need to put somebody
can-
on that. And it doesn't have to be a council person. The chair of that committee, correct?
So, but we can, let's look at that in the bylaws.
Okay.
Because we can amend that.
Okay, so that's something to work on for next
Uh-huh.
meeting then. Get this position filled. Unfinished business. And then on new business, I saw the email for June 5th meeting for Edison, is that what it was?
Yes, she
Okay.
has, Mrs. Steelman, or Sealman?
Sealman.
Ms. Sealman, said she could do the first meeting in June
Okay, I think
to
that's
talk
I
about
think
the
that's
changes that
fifth.
came in. So, she'll be here.
Okay. All right, do we have anything else that, for new business that we want to look forward to get scheduled in the
Oh,
future?
you know what, we have to back up on the old business, sorry, I forgot to mention, we had a meeting with ABEC,
Suspect 12, unfinished?
yes, on the Sigma, I forgot to mention this.
Oh,
Meeting with ABEC, general manager, and got the communication from them that the board will be looking at, I don't know, Kelly, you read it, what did you call it, is it? They'll be considering participating on the Sigma
Yes.
GSA. So that commitment came in actually before the April 18 meeting.
Alongside the county.
Yeah, well, they can do it if they want, so.
Okay.
yeah.
That's-
Yeah, it was, because apparently, I didn't know this, but AVEC goes up there to the Leona Valley and the lakes area too, so, you know, I guess we're all sort of in the same boat, which is good. I mean, I know we are, so it's good that we're all together and we all understand that now, because there was some question about whether or not Lake Hughes was even in it, and I'm like, oh, absolutely, they're in that same basin, the same boat as us, so, anyway, I apologize, I had to back up. That's it.
All right. That's it? Okay, meeting adjourned.